Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you on the Daily Dave. It's a Dave thing. It's always a Dave thing. Well, anyways, you're here, I'm here. I'm going to answer something that's been coming up in recent conversations with clients when we talk around podcast websites. Now, there are lots of people out there that want to take your money. There's lots of people who want to point you in the wrong direction. And there's a lot of noise around podcast websites. Do I need one? Yes or no? Where should I go? I heard about this great third-party service that does it all for me if I pay them every month, and yada yada, on and on and go. There's a lot of press going on around podcast websites right now, and I just want to bring a little bit of clarification for you so that you're not misdirected maybe into something that doesn't really serve you and your podcast long term. And this is what I mean. You can go to GoDaddy, which I have bought all of my websites through GoDaddy, and I've buy my domains for, some of them have been as little as $12 a year. Okay, so that's $1 a month, everyone, to have your own website. So like howtopodcast.ca, livingthenextchapter.com, truemediasolutions.ca, podcasteditingandsupport.com, all purchased through my GoDaddy account, and I own that address. So think about real estate. Okay, let's do the difference between owning a home and renting a home. There's a difference, right? Owning the home, you get the equity, you put your money into it, and then as your property gets more valuable, you benefit in the long term because you own it. Now, if I rent a property and I pay money to the landlord, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't get anything back from that rental agreement, in that I don't get any equity or anything back to me as a renter in that space. So the landlord benefits and the renter has a place to live, but you don't really own anything. You're going to one day say to the landlord, I'm done, I'm moving, and you pack up your truck and you move away. You don't get to take with you any of the things you've done. When my wife and I had a young family, we rented a townhouse, and we took care of that place as if it was ours. We loved it. It was a great 3-bedroom townhouse, young family, right? So we did gardening, we fixed up the backyard, we did all these little things. And you know what we couldn't take with us? The garden. When we moved, the garden stayed at the house for the next tenant who was renting. They benefited from all our hard work. We got nothing out of it. You can't take the trees and the plants with you. That's weird. So they all stayed there, and the landlord benefited from us taking care of the place. Let's take the whole real estate thing analogy to our online presence. Okay. When you buy a domain, so howtopodcast.ca is my domain. I own that. There's only one howtopodcast.ca. There's other howtopodcast.blah blah blahs. And I wouldn't go there because you're going to get some really weird things happening. But anyways, howtopodcast.ca, I own that. So there's only one website that has my stuff, and that's me. I own that. I am the owner. Okay? I'm not renting that. I'm owning that. That's mine. So I can then take that website address and I can point it anywhere I want. I can point it at Facebook. I can point it at YouTube. I can point it at my LinkedIn. But whenever you type in that website address, you go where I want you to go. Now, what's happening in podcasting is there's people coming on into these rooms on Facebook or making podcasts about podcasting, and they're telling you to go to a third-party resource, which could be your hosting site. So I have Buzzsprout, Captivate, and Spotify for Podcasters. All of those and others will give you a free, generic, basic podcast website that ties into your podcast. It's kind of a part of what they do. Now, they're not the best. I think out of all of them, I like Captivate and Buzzsprouts more than others. There's some that are just terrible. They just look like somebody brand new in creating websites created it for you, and it's good enough. So I wouldn't I wouldn't encourage you to do that. So you could buy your domain and point it at your free site created for you by your podcast host. That's one option. You could also then, like I said, point it to your Facebook, point it to your Facebook groups, point it to your Instagram, your X, whatever, Twitter, whatever we're calling it now. You can point it to your YouTube, whatever you want. You can point it anywhere you want. Just redirects it. And that could be a permanent redirect or just temporary. That's your choice. So you have the domain and you can send people wherever you want. I would encourage you to send them to your own website because you own that. Okay, you own the domain and you own the experience when I come to your website instead of being redirected to Facebook or YouTube or PodPage or all these other places. Those are third-party external resources that you can point your URL, your .com, .ca, .whatever, .co, you're redirecting people to that location. I would love for you to direct your website to your website as an owner of the space. Now, you can redirect it, like I said, to these other places, but remember that you don't own it. I can redirect my website to Facebook, but do I own Facebook? Yes or no? No. Do I own Instagram? Yes or no? No. Do I own YouTube? I would love to, but no, I don't. Do I own PodPage? Nope. Do I own my hosting sites page? Nope. I don't own any of those things, but what I do own is my howtopodcast.ca. So I built my website on Canva. Now you're like, well, Dave, you just said don't point it to something else. But I pay for Canva, and Canva is what I use for everything else that I do in my podcast. So adding a website to that is great. I also have Living the Next Chapter is hosted on GoDaddy, which is my domain site where I bought the domain. But I pay them every month or a yearly subscription to my website. So there's all these different things. But the main thing is I'm trying to encourage you with is in a world of noisy podcasts about podcasting, there's a lot of hype right now about PodPage. Now, if you go back in my history of my show, I did play with PodPage for a while. They had a free plan, which was awesome. Got you in the door. It gave you very limited resources, but enough to get you started. And I actually did episodes about PodPage and how much I loved it. Then they went paid only, and they got rid of all the free plans, which most places do. And I kind of just went somewhere else from there. I went to PodLink, and then I also went to episodes.fm because it gave me a shareable link to all of the places you can hear the show without using a paid subscription to PodPage. Remember, I'm paying for my domain, and then I'm also then paying for PodPage. So I was trying to eliminate one of those paid things. So bundling it back into Canva made sense for me, and that's where I built howtopodcast.ca. If you want to see what a Canva website looks like, then go to my website, howtopodcast.ca. You'll see it. But here's my big thing, just to remind you, is if PodPage is a thing you want to try, then great, go do it. It's a monthly fee. They have different levels that you can choose based on how much money you want to put in on a monthly basis. They do have a great team, awesome. But if you want to own the conversation, the one thing, the downfall of using these third-party places is you're giving them your SEO. You're giving them all your Google juice. So I'm coming to you on your website, but you're sending me to Facebook. Who benefits? Do you benefit by redirecting me to Facebook, or does Facebook benefit? Facebook benefits. If I redirect you to Instagram, who benefits? Instagram benefits. If I redirect you to PodPage, who benefits? You or PodPage? PodPage. You're creating SEO traffic to the places you point your website to. I would much rather you benefit from the long-term growth of your website, the authority of your domain, all of that leading back to you, not to some third party that could be here today and gone tomorrow. We could have one of these third-party things bought up by another hosting site, and they just delete it, and you're done. It happens, everyone. It does. So what can't be deleted is your domain because you own it. So I'm encouraging you, if you do start with a third-party solution for your podcast in the early days, that's fine. But I would love to see you migrate to being your own website presence for you alone that serves you and not another party. When I type in your website or search for you, I want all of that benefit to go to you, not to the third party that you're redirecting me to. Do you understand? You deserve all of the hard work and credit for all the things you've done, not a third party that you are using their service. If you have the opportunity to create your own website and do your own thing, please do that. And if you need help with that, howtopodcast.ca. I'd love to help you walk through. If you want to try Canva, you can try Canva website. There's Wix. I would never advise you to use WordPress because that's no. There's Squarespace. There's a bunch of different options that you can try. I love Canva because it's already in my Canva subscription. So if you already have Canva, you're not going to pay anything extra to have your website hosted through Canva. And all the tools you're used to on Canva can be applied to a website. So check it out, howtopodcast.ca. My big takeaway for you is just to remember that you want to own the traffic. Don't be a renter on rented land on someone else's platform, giving them all of the SEO juice that should go to you. Don't redirect the attention away from yourself. Redirect and focus the attention on yourself, because Google loves to send people to websites that bring value. You bring value, and if you need a website for your podcast, let me know. I'd love to help you at howtopodcast.ca. Stop giving away the attention to others. You deserve to keep it for yourself. If you need help, let me know. Thanks for listening. Talk soon.